I want to change people's thoughts about Polish people.
The stigma around Polish people shouldn't be there.
Once people know who we are, then I think those discriminations might disappear.
The Polish people that have come here recently do treat me differently because they don't think that I'm proper Polish like them. They believe that I'm sort of not faking it, but don't understand what they understand.
My friends, when they don't say stuff to me, but like some other ones when I met, don't say as well. But when they get angry at me, they just start saying stuff. I don't take it personal, but like they shouldn't say stuff like that.
I want them to see that there is texture behind being Polish, that I am different in being Polish.
I speak mostly English and do what English people do, but I do like the special Polish traditions, what my family have taught me.
If they meet us more, they will know who we are and that we're not different.
I'm making this film because I want to show people that no matter what you are, where you're from, what religion you even are, it doesn't matter. You also have feelings. It's not because you are Polish you haven't got any emotions. So I want to change people's thoughts about us as Polish.
It's identity, it's a nationality, it's being proud, it's proud to be Polish.
What do you know about the Polish community in Huddersfield?
Not an awful lot.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a great deal, no.
I don't really know nothing about the Polish community in Huddersfield.
We do seem quite passionate people. Polish people are very hard working.
There's more like shops for Polish.
My Polish friend goes off into the woods and she picks fungus.
But I don't know exactly what Polish food is.
I know there's a Polish club.
A lot of Polish people came over here during just around the time of the Second World War.
My friend's father was Polish.
Quite a close-knit community, isn't it, really?
His father married an English Yorkshire woman.
Wonderful music.
He feels that he's lost a lot of the Polish part of him.
Or perhaps it's they just integrate rather well.
I think English people see Polish people as just foreigners, strangers. They think that they're from a different world.
Richard, my fiancé, was interviewed for the same question, to have an outsider point of view about our community. I remember what he said, and he said that it was very refreshing to just find out a community that he believes that this country, community based on values that he thinks this country has somewhere forgotten.
You've got to have the past, the traditions, the culture. They are part of who we are. If we can keep the essence of the heritage, it'll become richer.
I think that it's important that we keep the Polish language between us so that it's just not forgotten that we're originally Polish.
As parents, as grandparents, we think it's important to keep the main traditions around. We think the church.
And the church keeps us all together. That's, I think, how we survived.
I think it's best if we just keep the traditional celebrations because we have to celebrate that we're Polish.
The Christmas Eve special meal that we have of several courses, and those courses are very traditional courses that we cook because our parents cooked and our grandparents cooked.
I didn't get born and raised in Poland, so I want to keep the tradition where I can in my family.
Our children went to the Polish school and they learnt about the cultures of Poland. Our children feel that it's important for their children, for our grandchildren, also to go to the Polish school and be part of that culture and that sort of environment.
England has to be England, whichever way you put it, but to keep the Polish history and the culture is very important.
If they cared about Polish traditions, you know, like celebrating Christmas in a Polish way or St. Nicholas Day or the Independence Day, then obviously you're gonna be more Polish in a way.
They move with the times, but because we're in England, we don't know how they've moved, so we've stayed with how the people from the war have come. So we have the old tradition from like 70 years ago, but we don't know how it's changed, so we don't change it.
I don't know what it's like in Poland at all, really.
The essence is just basically being Polish, having the culture, being a Yorkshire Pole, and accepting change.
Some of these traditions are losing themselves. Like the Polish club has gone, the members that it belonged to, quite a lot have died off. We're getting older and the culture is just changing even though we don't want it to.
The values of most Poles are, whether you go or you don't go, it's religion, it's the community, it's keeping the children understanding Polish, it is, you could say, the scouting and what that brings to you, because that brings a lot of heritage as well as knowledge, because without that knowledge, the heritage isn't there.
Multicultural society, and it's wonderful to see. We're not insular, we're all sort of dependent on each other, and it's so important that we do interact and learn from each other and get the best of each other. As long as this is goodwill and fair play and acceptance of each other, that's all that matters.
There's a lot of events going on in Kirklees, like multicultural and stuff, and like there's a lot of Polish going on in that as well.
There are lots of different cultures that you don't really find it in Poland, because like most of the people are basically from Poland. They speak in Polish and everything.
As a family, we used to talk in Polish, you know, and then the children went to school and there was an English language, and it was funny, you know, because sometimes, as it is now, one would say something in Polish and had an answer in English. I think that both cultures are mixing, and I think that that's very interesting.
I feel Polish, but I really like England as well.
I obviously do a lot of Polish stuff, but I also do a lot of English stuff, so I consider myself a tiny bit more Polish, but, you know, I just be both, really.
My grandma always says, you know, when you're at home, speak your own language so that they know it, because you're going to learn English no matter what. When you go out to nursery school, you're going to grow up with people around you speaking English, so you'll always know that. But if you don't speak your own language, you won't know it, so at home, speak it.
Around my Polish grandma, I'll definitely be Polish. Around family in Poland, I'll be Polish. I'll try at least as best I can.
I was born here and my parents were born here, and I'm not fluent in Polish. I can hold a conversation, but like I was saying, my grandma doesn't speak much English, and it can be hard to communicate with her sometimes.
My identity was very strong when I lived in Poland. Then I came here, there was this clash of two cultures. Everything was different than what I was used to. And I have to honestly admit that I did go through like a crisis of identity, because I wanted to fit in. I didn't have any friends, any Polish friends around me, no family members, nobody who knew me and understood me. And I went quite far in trying to fit in. But from that, I just started building that identity from scratch. And I believe that now it's pretty strong.
I feel Polish, I think. I don't know, because like when I speak, I've seen different with you guys, like Asian people. They like, and I've got a friend. He's talking English too, even if it's culture, like to his dad even.
Yeah.
And like with me, I can't talk English to Polish people because it's just weird for me.
I don't think I have become more British. I think I'm just still the Polish person that I was. It's just the language that I started speaking, and that's it.
Well, I hope that they are going to be as their forebears, shall we say, hard-working people, honest people, that neither we nor them will forget our roots and carry on being good people and good citizens.
I was born into a Polish family where my dad came via Siberia to England and my mum came through Germany. I know my dad took him 10 years to get to England, leaving Poland in the middle of the night, getting thrown into cattle trains, and then just walking through Siberia down to Afghanistan, Azerbaijan and all sorts of other places, and ending up in Africa. And he spent most of his youth there. So he had a different sort of youth, and he just wanted us to live as much Polish but yet be part of the English community, which we were.
I came here just by myself. It was because early 2000 the factory, Brook Motors, was shut down and all the machinery went to Tarnów, to my city in Poland. And I was working there as an interpreter. So everybody I met was from Huddersfield and I just came here. I was planning to come here only for summer. And I remember the way how my mom was waving to me in front of her work, and it was like very significant. I'm thinking, why is she putting so much emotion into it? And I'll never forget the way how she waved, because it was when I actually left the country. Life here was very tough for me in the beginning. I felt like a failure in that I had a diploma and I was so respected in Poland, and here I was disrespected in so many ways, by customers, by men, by my boss, who never even allowed me a break because I didn't work legally. And then when I stayed in this job for 3 years as a cleaner, that mentality of people who were surrounding me sort of got to me, and I forgot my ambitions, I forgot who I was. I thought that would be my life forever, you know. I expected life to be much easier, and I had lived with my family. I was very well protected and I didn't have to make important decisions, and I assumed that all adults will be very helpful, and you know, I had that childish mentality. So after I found out that everything has got its price, that you need to work for what you've got and own, it took me a few years to just grow up. And I don't allow myself to miss my family too much. I don't want to be with one leg there and one leg here. I want to be happy when I'm there and happy when I'm here.
My father was in the army. In 1947 he was allocated the Polish army down in Oxford, and because he was here they were asked if they'd like to bring their families across or go back to Poland. My father chose to come here, so my mother, together with me and my sister, came to England. There was a lot of Polish people, quite a few, but they were more central in Huddersfield. We had to go and live where your kind of work was. So my father had to go to live in Meltham, where the mills were. Well, in the beginning we lived in a one-room, very difficult situation. We lived with a lady who was bedridden, and we just had that one room to live, which was very hard. And until the manager of the factory where my father worked said he'd put his name down for us to get a council house. When we got the council house, which was fantastic, 4 white walls, no furniture, but it was all ours. We had a room where we could sleep on the floor, but it didn't matter. We got some mattresses and we managed. And only in, can't remember how many years we'd been in the council house before, they were able to put some money down for a deposit to buy a house, and then he worked then in Slathwaite, but still in the mill. In the very beginning, as a 7-year-old, it was hard. I mean, now the children they've got everything now. They've got teachers that can speak the language, help them out. Not when I was a young one. I was the only foreigner in school. I didn't understand that I felt different. I understood it more as I grew older, because there were certain items which you couldn't buy if you hadn't got a ration card. This is where it came into kind of knowing who liked you or didn't like you, because the people who liked you always helped you out with things. We had a marvellous priest called Canon Grogan in Huddersfield who came round with shoes for me and my sister because we didn't have any extra footwear. Okay, they were second-hand, but they were good ones, and we were very appreciative of it. My father was a member of the Polish club. We then started coming Sundays to church and meeting other people, but it took a while as a girl meeting other girls of your same age group, and by then you were older anyway. So you met more girls, met other boys. I married a Polish boy. And when I had children, I then tried to encourage to the Scouts movement, to the dance group, singing, dancing, whatever there was available. I tried to make sure that they got there. That's the time I kind of felt I wanted to be known as Polish, known that I belonged to somewhere. And it kind of was drawing me very strongly. First time I went back to Poland, I was with my parents. And my father's reaction, the pleasure, the excitement that he portrayed, I just couldn't believe it. How he looked, how he felt. He was so eager to re-know all his friends which he'd left behind, to have a look at the house where he used to live, which had gone, they built the roads up, so the house kind of was sinking down, so it appeared. But it was interesting to watch him, but I think his acknowledgement of what he'd missed was very evident in his attitude when we got there. He was just excited to be there. He was just happy to sit on a doorstep and just drink in the atmosphere. My father had lost 3 brothers in Poland that he knew of, because there were 7 of them, and as far as he knew, there was only his elder brother that was still in Poland, and he was hoping that he would be able to help him by being here. Send him food, parcels, if there's anything that's needed. Medicines was always very warmly welcomed there. And as I grew older, I was able to go to Poland, take things, remembering then that there is a family there, and you're kind of more interested of what they're doing. Can you help them? What can you help them with? Which wasn't easy at times there. Why did I do it? I felt I needed to. I felt it was one way I can help my country, my town, where I lived, Sunskavala.
I think my parents found it hard to kind of get established. They came over here to Huddersfield via Wrexham, and then went to Lincolnshire because there was jobs going in Lincolnshire in some sort of a canning factory or something, and then they heard that there was this community starting in Huddersfield and that there was a lot of employment going around here in the textile engineering industry, and they really thought it was an exciting time for them to come here. We lived in an area in the Colne Valley, and there weren't very many Polish people there. And there were neighbours who didn't like the fact that there was a foreign person living next door. It wasn't pleasant for me as a child to be listening and to be seeing a neighbour, an English neighbour, who'd got drunk, he liked his drink, and he used to come regularly, and he'd put a gun through the letterbox and say, "You Poles, get back to your own country." And for me as a child, 9, 10-year-old, to see that regularly, it wasn't very nice. My parents were hard because obviously working, you'd always get that. You'd always get kind of, not antagonism, but people who were negative towards you. But it just made them so much stronger, so much more proud of what they did to get here. There was a Polish parochial house, house, or a little centre before we had the Polish church. And St Patrick's, one of the houses on Spring Street, had been bought up by the Polish community, and the priest was there. And the very first school, the Polish school, was actually there as well, wasn't it?
So the school, the church, it more or less happened straight away. The church was the sort of focus point for us all, where we met people of our same background. And
in fact, that's how we met as well, didn't we? Yeah. We knew each other through the Polish school, through scouts and guides and things, and then we all went kind of our separate ways through university, and then we kind of came back, and the main area for Polish people really was to come together at the Polish church. And that was very, very important to have that sort of centre. Even though we'd studied at different parts of the country, we came together and we knew that that was like a little focal point, and where the dancers are and the shows are and things, and it's a really nice community to be involved in, really.
It was wonderful for us, we felt like a big, big family. There's a saying that we have, we fought for your and our freedom, and that's basically it. It's something that we're extremely proud of. We fought for everybody, for the whole of Europe to get, to become free, and then unfortunately for our parents, they couldn't go back because it was a different sort of Poland. So what happened? we set up a government in exile, and it was based in London. And we sort of, so...
And you were actually a delegate. He was voted to represent the whole of the north of the Yorkshire region. There was another.
So it's like being an MP for a short time.
For the Polish government in exile in the 70s, late 70s, wasn't it, when you were there?
For 5 years, so it was like you know, being an MP for that time. But it's, you know, so we're all extremely proud of our heritage, what our parents did, what they went through. Can you imagine what they had to go through in order to first set up their own lives, secondly set up a community where they get together and live their culture that they knew from Poland and so on. So it was so important for them to sort of carry on the traditions, what they knew.
We didn't leave Poland voluntarily. We've been taken as war prisoners to Russia by Russians. That was in 1940, in February. The weather was atrocious. The Russians came very early in the morning, demanding for us to dress and get on out. Собирайся, that's Russians' equivalent to get dressed and get out. So we did, and my mother thought actually that we are going to be taken to woods nearby and shot at, you know, all of us. But instead they took us to a railway station and then to Siberia. After Poland, I hardly had any childhood, you know, because it was all poverty and people died of hunger, starved. It was just a nightmare. I was lucky actually to go to school most of the time. We had good teachers that were taken to Russia as war prisoners with us. Sometimes as my family, mother and only a few children, because most of the men were in the army. But we sort of organized ourselves and we had schools and other groups, cultural groups, all sorts. Initially, most of the Polish people that were taken to Russia, they were either men, serving men, taken as war prisoners and taken to Russia into the gulags or Siberian forests for work. When the war broke between Germany and Russia, they needed all the people, army men, to fight on the front lines. And we've been there about 2 years before the amnesty came and we were liberated, shall we call it. We've stopped for 2 years in Persia, which is now Iran, and then Lebanon about 2 years again. And then we were taken to Egypt. We've waited there for about 3 months in the camp for the boat to take us to England. It was in 1948, February, and mist and rain and all that. That was unexpected. We were treated very well, taking into consideration that we were taken to, again, all these camps. And we lived more or less in communities, our own people. The most important thing, I think, is that we had our priests as well with us. And as a community, we had always church or all sorts of organizations, youth clubs, guides and scouts, dancing groups, choirs. Well, my generation is grateful to people that helped us to get through the worst of the war times. And then so we may live in peace now, and we are grateful for that.
The Polishness is changing, the community is changing, but as long as you accept change but yet keep your own traditions, people can see what they are without actually enforcing the old traditions but yet keeping them, which is going to be very difficult.
Like my brother-in-law, he married an English girl. Children were educated and family life was all right. My son is married to an English girl as well now. So I think Poles that came here after the war mix very well with local people.
Some people believe the Polish community behind them closed doors are all dressed up to tea in the traditional national costume. We don't look westernised. We are just with flowers in our hair, with stripy outfits, red boots or grey outfits. That is what they think we are. And quite often they only think all we are is the church. It isn't, it's more than that. We've got to embrace the whole thing. And as well as that, we're in Huddersfield, we're in Yorkshire.